Okay, so I'm going to be going over the effective instruction from Jim Burke's book, and I'm going to be relating it to social studies. So the first portion of his book covers instruction that works, and he breaks it down into several topics. So the number one is vary your instructional methods and strategies. So his main thing is provide multiple entry points into every subject. So as for social studies, this could be like starting a lesson using visuals, so like a photo of, like, let's say the Holocaust, to start discussion and introduction. Also, essential questions is really important for his social studies, because a lot of teachers like to use like inquiry-based questions when teaching that. So number two, employ a range of instructional modes. So this could be used across any subject. So like demonstrations, reads to think, or also known as close readings. Discussion, problem solving are really important to give a variety to your instructional modes. C, use a variety of group formats and configurations. So he breaks it into two different types of groups. So formal, which is more like structured and more assignment based. As for informal, these are things like pair shares. Number D, describe and demonstrate each strategy or technique. So this is really important for us as teachers to demonstrate and model each strategy that we're teaching. And lastly, develop students' background knowledge using different techniques. So it's important to create techniques that give students a development of their background knowledge, as well as access their current background knowledge to better get an understanding of what they're learning. Number two of instruction that works is teach students how to think, learn, and remember. So be methodological and strategic when teaching. Cultivate different types and aspects of intelligence in all students. So that's where group work comes in, and gives them the opportunity to get a different perspective from each members in your group. Also, instill key habits of mind in students to help them succeed in school and in life. So reference I like to make, we just recently got done creating Google Slides for a project in class, and I told them, I related that back to, you guys better get good at Google Slides now, because you're going to be using them a lot in college. So it's a motivation for them to actually like inhabit like making good Google Slides and how this is helpful for their future. And then lastly, initiate students into thinking specific to your subject matter. So try to use a lot of like vocabulary, so like academic vocabulary, so that way it gets them thinking closer to the discipline. Number three, assess this understanding and use the results to improve your teaching. So assess students before teaching, so that way that you know their current knowledge and skill level. So this could be like pre-tests or just pre-quizzes, like a question and answer thing, like on a board, like quickly, just something to see where your students are at. Use multiple means and measures to assess students' performance. So this means use a variety of things, like don't just give them a test and say that's like their performance. You give them a variety of different tests, activities, projects, so that way you can better tell what level they're at and like their comprehension level. C, teach students to assess their own progress through goal setting and reflection. So this is important that you give students the opportunity to monitor their own progress, so that way they can see where they're doing good and where they could need a little more improvement, rather than just the teacher telling them you need to do improvement here. And then D, provide useful, specific, meaningful feedback through the learning cycle. So it's really important for teachers to give really useful and specific feedback, so that way students know where to improve at. Number four, use the right tools and technology to enhance instruction. So this is really important to use an array of tools and technologies to enhance during your teaching. So if you have access to a smart board for teaching, definitely use it to better your lectures and stuff like that. Also, if a lot of classes are teaching with the Chromebooks, so create assignments that students can use the Chromebooks to complete with. So just always use like different methods and technologies for instructing. So number two of the book is classroom culture. So this is where Burke recommends that support all students to ensure success. So this would be including identify and teach the students' strengths. So by giving assessments to where you can see where students excel better at certain areas, it's always important to teach towards those areas that students are better at. Number B, provide different types of support throughout the learning experience. So it's also very important to provide different types of like scaffolds and stuff. So that way students that may be struggling or like have disabilities are still able to get the same experience as students that are not. Number C, differentiate instruction whenever possible. D, use different methods, strategies, and configurations like we spoke last section. And then E, demonstrate and restate your faith in your students throughout the instructional process. So it's always important to give students words of encouragement. Number 6, maintain a safe, productive learning environment. So establish and maintain high expectations for quality of work and behavior. So it's very important to establish this and show examples to your class of what this looks like. So that way they know exactly what is expected of them. Create clear policies regarding behavior and enforce them consistently. So this is also really important to have on your syllabus in the beginning of class. So that way students know the behavior rules. Number C, cultivate a safe, respectful environment at all times. So teach everybody to speak respectfully to one another, as well as yourself speak respectfully to your students. Number D, consider students' developmental needs and when creating lesson plans. So that way, this is where differentiation comes in. So that way, each student at every level is able to have the access to full lesson segments content. And E, celebrate student success in and outside of the classroom. So it's also to create more rapport with your students is really important to celebrate their success in the classroom. Like let's say somebody did really good on a test, but also outside. So let's say somebody did really, really good at like a sports game or something. So it's really important to praise that kind of stuff. And then lastly, curriculum basics. So number 7, teach skills and knowledge in context. So design authentic learning experiences that integrate skills and knowledge. Use different types of instruction to teach skills and knowledge. So once again, differentiation is key to this. Develop fluency through variation within lessons. So make sure everything is very fluid when teaching lessons. You don't want it to be teaching part of the class something and then automatically just jump to something completely random and unrelated to what they were just teaching. So make sure everything is fluid. Number D, organize instruction into patterns of maximum effectiveness. So I've noticed a lot in like history classes, especially this semester and last semester, a lot of history teachers start off with a warm-up and then they move on into some sort of like lecture or debrief of the warm-up, and then they move into an activity. I've noticed that this has like been the structure for the majority of the history classes I observe, so it's important to develop these kind of patterns. And then number E, teach a range of skills and types of knowledge. So it's important to definitely make rigorous skills and knowledge to teach. So number 8, organize your instruction around big ideas and essential questions. So this is kind of tying in more so Common Core and like the goals of Common Core. It's more important to teach using around big ideas and essential questions rather than teaching content, especially with history. They're trying to stray away from using so much content related questions, rather like the big idea. So like, okay, the Russian Revolution and Stalin and stuff, the bigger idea about that was how communism was brought into Russia rather than who created communism and stuff like rather than asking specific questions, they would rather bring about the big ideas, if that makes sense. And then number 9, help students make connections. So it's really important for an effective instruction is that students are able to make personal connections. So by in history, like how you can make connections to, let's say the like current Russia, how it is today, and like the stuff that we're dealing with Russia in our country, and then making connections back to like why we are having these issues and stuff like that. So it's always important to make like current related connections as well as personal. because they improve comprehension, increase engagement, and enhance memory. And then lastly, design lessons and units for maximum learning and engagement. So this kind of just ties everything in. So focus on desired outcomes, align your instruction and assessments with appropriate standards, create lessons that will motivate and engage all students, cultivate independence through instructional practices, and teach for understanding. And that is it.